States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Typically it's over there, but the remote for this device doesn't work anymore, so I use the top of the.
Oh. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Aaron.
Present.
Mr. Barron.
I'm here.
Mr. Christensen is absent. Mr. Frericks.
Here.
Mr. Godbout.
Here.
Ms. Lochner.
Present.
Mr. Noonan.
Here.
Pope is absent. Mr. Robbins is absent. Mr. Walter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Public comment, I don't see anybody here. Any agenda additions or deletions?
I didn't hear back from anyone, so I typically use the last approved agenda as a base.
Yep.
And I left some things on there because we had to cancel due to a lack of a quorum those meetings in June to review the request from the fire department and the school. So I just left them on there.
Okay. I have one addition under Old Settlers as a memorial donation. Is Scott coming?
He didn't say.
Okay.
The last I talked to him, he planned to be here,
Okay.
but that was day before yesterday.
I recommend we approve the agenda or I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Is there support?
Second.
Support by Charles. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We got an agenda. Moving on to action
I
items.
didn't see who seconded that.
Oh, Charlie. Moving on to the approval of the minutes. We got 3 sets, actually. May, June, and June.
I would make a motion that we approve the May 4th, 2022, the June 1st, 2022, and the June 1st, 2022 committee meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All those in, oh, yeah, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, just on the June 1st, the regular meeting, I don't want to belabor the point, but on the last item, commissioner comments on page 7 on those. I read from page 66, the 5-year plan extension 2020 to 2024. And I'd like it verbatim what I said to be put in there because I think it's important relative to where we go forward.
Sure.
I can read it again if you like.
I think I actually fixed those minutes, so we need more.
So it's for the
Yeah, I'll read it for you.
commissioner comment? Well, Don, if you can just,
It's quick. It's on page 66, proposed action number C. Consider preservation of the field at the northwestern corner of the property for the passive recreation to blend in with the historical and agrarian nature of the poor farm vicinity. That's in the 5-year plan. I think it's an important thing to consider when we discuss a fire hall there, or houses there, or whatever, or even a baseball field. That's all.
Okay. So I would amend my motion to make that addition to the minutes for June 1st, 2022 regular session.
Is that fine with the second?
That's fine with second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to financials, they're in our packet.
there are 2 sets because they close the books on June and then July is not fine.
So,
We're lost without Scott.
He's the explainer of all this.
We didn't have a chance to look at these, they just popped in here.
so are we over our capital outlay by 29%? As of June 30th? Is that what that means?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Didn't that come up?
What is this?
We didn't have the meeting, didn't that come up at maybe our last meeting? That Scott had the explanation of the 129? But I don't recall it right now.
I'll have to check into that and let you know.
Okay.
Just a comment, it really would be nice to get these before the day of the meeting so we could really review them a little.
I typically send these out on the Monday before the meeting, so it gives you 48 hours, but it's a payroll week and we have new staff,
Okay,
so that kind of trumps it.
yeah,
Next month, it shouldn't be an issue.
okay.
Sounds
It's
good.
hard to approve something when you haven't had a chance to really look at it.
Well, we can table these till next month.
If you want to table them.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Do what now? We're going to table the approval?
Yeah, table the approval of the financials till next month.
Probably in the minutes of June, it'll say about why that overlay is there. I remember the discussion, it's probably documented in the minutes.
Didn't remember seeing it, but it is.
Is there any other questions right now? Otherwise, we'll just move on and come back to them next month. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Miles Kimmerly. We've got a few items underneath there. Don, do you want to take?
Kimberly, the first thing is the Cub Shack. I was going to ask Scott about that, but Laurel has some information she'll share with us.
Well, also, just so you know, I included the minutes from the last Miles Kimberly meeting to kind of bring you up to speed on that part as well. Mr.,
Stands.
well, the guy from Casting.
Oh, Newman.
Yeah, he has decided he's no longer able to do this, so Casey and Chet were in discussion with Zach Stans of Stans Excavating.
Yeah, Stands Dozer Service it's called.
Yeah, and we have a check cut already to pull a permit, and we're gonna get dumpsters, it'll be our dime for that, and then we'll pay him, what is it, about
1,500.
Yeah, to do it.
I just talked to him over the weekend. He doesn't have, or he doesn't carry all the demo licenses. So he's going to have another contractor pull the permit. So he'll subcontract through him basically, but it's supposed to, he was going to get a soil erosion permit also. So he said this week that the guy was supposed to get that going. And so hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll be in good shape.
So it went from a removal and reuse by somebody else to a demo and destroy?
Yep.
Okay,
Who is
dispose.
the company?
Is it Stans?
Stan's Dozer Service will be doing the work.
Stanz.
Z.
Oh, it stands, okay.
And that's all.
The next item is, for Miles Kimberly, is the Leelanau County resolutions that Laura listed down. And you have some updates on that for us, too?
Not really, because everybody's gonna discuss it, and then we're gonna inform.
Right.
Yeah, we planned a special meeting to do,
Right.
go all over these issues on June 16th,
Yes.
and we didn't have a quorum, so we could not have the meeting. So, but what I can tell you is this was in a note that was sent by the attorney, Cole, Stoker, and Tosky to Laurel on June 1st. And none of this is really going to be of any significance, really. Putting the property in perpetuity, any part of the property, is not binding on a future board. I think we did talk about it at the last meeting.
Yes.
So that's nothing to worry about. The 1995 resolution giving MSU extension ability to do whatever they want. There's only about a year left on that lease or so, and that lease was improperly drawn up. What happened is, instead of the quadrants given for the northwestern part that we're talking about, they gave them license to do anything they want on the whole park except that part. So it was a big, either a typo or a confusion. Nobody noticed it, and it's going away anyway in a year, so, and they're not gonna do anything, they're not using it anyway.
I think it's through 2025.
2025 might be 2 years, but it's not a problem. The recorded deed, it might be legally, but I don't think it's a problem for us, until we get to that point. The recorded deed to the property, are there any restrictions on that? And I don't know that we know that for sure at this point still, because when I talked to you last, it was still, we're trying to fish something else out. But probably, there's no restrictions on it, but we don't know that for 100%.
Oh, you just said there are no restrictions. Okay.
There are no restrictions, okay, so we know that. So that takes care of all that. Number 2, the Cedar Area Fire and Rescue, I've not heard back from them, we didn't meet in July. I don't have any update, or I've not heard anything, maybe you have some information.
I haven't heard anything back from either of them. I mean,
Yeah.
we were planning to have the meeting, they were going to be here for that, but then it was canceled, obviously, and I haven't heard anything else from them. I can call Greg today and see where they stand, if they're still interested, I'm not sure.
My deep desire is that they look elsewhere, and I really think that our committee probably feels that way too, Miles, Kimberly, and even this whole commission. But that not being said, as far as the next one, the Glen Lake Community Schools, the only caveat I have about that, and I could be wrong about this, but I think I'm right. This is a private enterprise investment. It's kind of affiliated with the Glen Lake Schools, but I don't think Glen Lake Schools are funding this at all. It's a travel team concept. It's a summer league. I have a grandson that plays in one. It's an investment for somebody to make some money. It's good for the kids and everything. I'm not opposed to that. I think it's great. But to take public land to develop your private enterprise, where does it stop? Somebody might want to put a water slide in there next, and they'll say, well, you did it for them. Why can't I put my water slide next to that or something like that? So I really have a lot of reservations about either one of these two things going forward. That's just my opinion, and we have to further discuss it, I know. And then what I read earlier from that, I wanted to add to the June 1st minutes, this should be a passive recreational area that's compatible with the other side of the road with the poor barn and the horses and all that sort of thing, and leave any kind of physical engagement activity on the south side of the road. But that's just my opinion and how I feel about it. Trail proposal team, did you include that in the?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
it's in
think
there.
you guys have that, okay. This Jim, I have it here. A nice fellow came out and spent time with Michael Smith, myself, and a couple other people. I can't remember who was there now. Sorry about that. But what page is that, Laurel?
40 and 41.
41.
So,
Just compounded here. I got it in my work. Anyway, the bid goes out for, I think it was, do you have there 230 or something?
234.9.
Yeah. And on your June 1st executive committee, you wanted to ask the county to fund $190,000 to $200,000 for it. Has that gone anywhere, or is that too early to think about? Or?
We haven't gone to the board and asked them directly. I have it in the budget as a request or something or a special request. I wrote
Maybe
it
they've
in.
seen it and,
And they're just starting budget.
Right.
okay.
That was my question, where are we at with that, at that?
I haven't even,
Budget
We're just
session
not
for
anywhere
the
with it.
board is tomorrow.
right. So they're just getting started on it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen where I'm on the schedule for Parks and Rec.
235, 234.9, yeah.
Usually they schedule a time for every department to come
Well,
in.
that comes down the road.
Okay.
We have our first meeting where they hand out the books and they answer a few questions, but it's so enormous, it's better to let them take it home and so.
Yeah. No, no problem.
Point of clarification, when we say it's in the budget, does that also mean it's in the CIP or just in the Parks and Rec budget?
Let me point you to page 49. Item number 2022-03, page trail and Kimberly. And those are using the figures that we had prior to getting the quote.
Right.
Okay.
So
So if I had looked further, I would have answered my own question. Okay.
The ducks are as much in a row as they can be at this
Right.
point. We just have to lean on our commissioners to fund the
Well,
project.
It's a good question, because occasionally it doesn't make it to the CIP, and it might be something we budget for. We try to catch them, but this one, Laurel's got us in line. So that's a lot better price than every price we've heard in the future,
It was, well,
in the past.
The initial one was 200 to 400, so it's in
Yeah,
that range.
yeah.
Right.
Well, the initial one was it like,
4 or
was
5.
it?
yeah, it was at least 5, I thought it was 5 or 6, so maybe it was 5.
Well, the estimate does say 400.
Yeah, 400.
Yeah, on the CIP,
On the CIP it does, but on theirs, they're saying,
234.
yeah.
I did
Yeah.
400 from the Tart Trail, and the Tart Trail is 10 feet wide, and this is only 8 feet wide.
Okay.
And I did send an email or a text to this fellow, what's his name?
Justin.
Justin Kalinsky, to ask him how much it would be if we had a 10-foot wide one instead of an 8, but he never responded, and I didn't follow up on it, but I could. But 8 foot might be fine. The Tart Trail is 10 foot.
Yeah, in fact, we would, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My thought on that is, this is a lot different than the Tart Trail. We don't necessarily have to have traffic moving in both directions. We could even signal it to be one way.
Well, now you don't want to do that because people will go out and they get tired and they don't want to do the whole way.
I don't think it's going to be nearly as.
I think 8 feet's plenty.
Yeah, we're not going to have
Scott,
bikers traveling at any high speed. I'm just more envisioning maybe some joggers and strollers, and hopefully, if somebody
It's,
wheelchair bound would like to come enjoy it.
Steve Christensen proposed this 190, and Melissa said 200, and I think that's an excellent idea, because we have some others, we can't have everything, obviously, but Miles Kimmerly has a lot of other projects that they'd like to get done, and if we can get this one out of the way, then we can focus on a pickleball court, we can focus on a dog park.
Yep.
We can focus on this kiosk, toilet facility, water bottle station.
this is something that we've talked
So we
about
have
ever
about
since I've
4
been on
different
this board.
projects,
Yeah.
and you would have all these projects, we talked about it, thought about it, and we don't have the funding for it.
Right.
So if they could unload one of these, that would really be a stimulus for us to
Yeah,
kick butt and work on the others.
sounds good. Go ahead, John.
I walked around the park with the Elmer's guy about a month or so ago, and we talked about different widths. And he said, well, the paving equipment
Oh,
is
yeah.
8 feet wide, so it's.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I think 8 feet is plenty. I don't think it needs to be any wider than that.
I agree.
So as of right now, we just leave this alone until we get through the budget process with the board?
And in fact, if you wanted me to, I can print out copies of the latest estimate from Elmer's.
Yes,
So they can see that we have something a little more concrete.
yep. We have things, things are in the works, or we're ready to pull the trigger if we can get the funding.
Before you end with the Miles discussion, I have just one more thing to add.
Okay.
I just have one more comment. I was surfing social media maybe a month or so ago, and a local person had written, "I wish there were a paved trail at Miles Kimmerly for me to take the kids," and there was a lot of comments. There was a lot of support. Scott, did you see that? More than once, yeah.
People always stopped and said, hey, it'd be great if we had a walk.
We had a walking trail. Yep.
And I'll say, like the civic center.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But it would fit the park very nicely, and
would.
I think it would get a ton of use,
Oh.
attract more people.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Doug?
Let me check real quick. I think that
John
was
has
it.
one more question.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Do you have a question?
When I went around with the fellow from Elmer's, a lot of the cost is on the cut and the fill to maintain the 1 in 12 slope.
Right. Because it sounded like the topsoil is quite a bit deeper than what he thought it would be.
Well, there's a lot more slope
Okay.
to accommodate.
And it says that it'll just pile it up there. Could we save some money if they bought it from us? Do they want it? Is it not?
They
Good
might
enough.
take it, but pretty minimal.
Yeah,
like
value-wise, I figured it
$4 or
would be.
$5 a yard for unspring topsoil. It's not, I mean, it might.
Trucking would be more than what we get.
Okay.
Right.
So we have a spot we can put it? Where?
Old settlers.
Old Settlers, okay. Or
Okay,
a big-
Laurel, you had one more thing you said?
Just so it's on everybody's radar, I have printed off the current lease that we have with Maple Valley Nursing Home for that easement across the road where the proposed dog park might go, because they have two septic tanks on our park property. And from what I recall in the conversation, were you at that one?
Yeah.
Okay. He said that they don't have one retired, they actually switch on and off whichever tank they're going to use. They
Okay.
don't use, they didn't just fill up one and now they're filling up the second one. So that lease expires next April. And I have it printed off for Chet, and I asked him to call council about how we can make sure that this works seamlessly and we're out of that lease.
Right.
Because I don't think you want to renew it, especially if this impacts the walking trail or anything else we have
Right.
going on.
Right, absolutely.
And from what I understand, they have plans to expand and those tanks would be obsolete for them because it wouldn't be able to hold up for what.
That's what his explanation was, or at the time when we brought it up, that was a couple years ago now, or 3 years ago even, to let him know that, hey, this is coming due and we have no interest in renewing it, and now nothing has happened, so, I don't.
So we'll get counsel on it and I just want to make sure they have adequate time to
Do something
move
else.
forward and do something else on that.
Right, I agree.
Question to Laurel. Mr. Aaron's, he'll be joining the Miles Kimberly.
If that's your choice.
What?
If that's your choice, yeah.
He looks
seems
like a
the
decent
most-
chap.
It seems
Boy.
well, it seems like the most logical.
Grizzly
because that's
buffalo.
where you're going.
Well, we lost Michael, so we need more than three. We'll never have a quorum. He showed up, that's good.
I'm a carbon-based life form.
Any more body?
Okay,
Welcome.
No, thank you.
moving on to Old Settlers. For the memorial donation, I don't know if I know Melinda does, but Nancy Lanham passed away, it's been about a month ago now.
Right.
And in lieu of flowers, they asked for donations to go to Old Settlers Park. Their family was very involved with the picnic and the park itself, and family went all the way back to the first picnic. So now they have, I talked to the one daughter this morning, they have about $3,000 that they would like to, the one thing that they requested was a bench, and then they'd like to see the rest of it go to some sort of small piece of playground equipment. Nancy loved kids, so I mean, $2,500 or whatever doesn't get you a whole lot, but I don't know if there's a teeter-totter or
Those bouncy things.
bouncy bug, whatever.
Bouncy bunny.
Whatever. Yeah, a bunny
Have
would be
to be a
perfect.
bunny, yeah.
So I don't, Scott.
Maybe Scott-
You have a way better idea on this stuff than what.
Should we look through catalogs, maybe you and I, and see?
Maybe at the end of the year, we can find a deal on.
Yep.
Each park, like, so we know our other box will buy one.
Right. And they're not set on that, and I mean, Peg knows exactly how much stuff costs. They've been involved with some things in Traverse City, so their biggest request was a bench, if they could do that, if we could do that for them. I don't, is there?
Describe that,
Well, I mean, she's fine with whatever we decide
those
on.
raw iron ones that we have there.
Yeah, if we could put one down by the water somewhere with a plaque on it, that was their main request, and then I did tell her that we have developed a plan about the trees, to plant trees. They were fine with that if something else didn't work. But,
Yeah, I'll get a cost.
Remember, we've done a bench with a commemorative plaque at Veronica.
right, and at Miles Kimberly, we've done them.
It was the same thing, we used, the legs on that were something you already had, I mean, in stock, so to speak.
But if we could get a price and do that, and then see where we go on the playground equipment. And then if
Does
not,
the playground equipment have a sign on it? I mean,
I don't think that that would be their request. They'd like the plaque on the bench, obviously, but the piece of playground equipment would just, they would know.
Now, each park has its own donation rules.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know that we'd have a sign on it at Veronica, so I was thinking.
Right. And it would be,
Really don't care about.
it'd be hard to put it on there unless you had it on a stand next to it or something, but I don't think that that would be a make or break deal for them. She just wanted me to bring it up and let us know how much money they have and start with a bench and then see what else we can come up with. They're kind of pretty open to whatever past the bench, so.
Rather than something permanent at the playground, could you just rent a bouncy house to be used on the day of the picnic?
Yeah, it's a
For as many
possibility.
years as
For
you
many
can pay
years.
for?
That would be very popular, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
We'll look.
so
Scott,
we can look through the
We'll
catalog
shop.
and see what we can,
About 500 to 700.
for the bench?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then a little bit of money for the plaque. It's not that much, right? It's like $20.
I did hear a family member mention they really like the bench that is there for Connie Binsfield, or the Binsfield bench. Well, and I think we probably don't even know what that costs, because didn't the family just pay for that?
Yes.
We didn't do
didn't have
that.
anything to do
So
with
that's
that.
a stone one, field stone, and it would take all of it for that. Okay.
That's all granite, like real stone.
Huge
Yeah.
donation size of the state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite an involved.
And honestly, yeah. Okay, well, we will shop, we will look. I'd be happy to.
And then, thanks for going over there and figuring that
I like
out.
those kind of problems.
Sounded like it was fairly easy. I don't,
It's just operator error.
okay. He called me the other day in a panic because the hydrant was moved. I said, we couldn't do anything about it. That's what had to happen. And he was running me through the ringer on it. And then he called me again all in a panic. We're getting ready for Old Settlers Picnic and we had to move the water spigot because it got a hole in the water line and.
Under a concrete pad.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it did.
And my uncle's very particular. Everything is done the same exact way for the last 50 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
something changed, and then he went to turn the faucet on, he couldn't get the hose attached or something, so Scott had to go over and help him out. But I appreciate you going
Thank
over
you,
there.
Scott.
And just a reminder, Old Settlers Picnic is this weekend, Sunday. Come if you can.
And everybody saw the handout I sent out, the new installed playground equipment.
Yes.
Yes.
Looks very nice.
And I went over and saw it and looked at it today. It looks like it's well installed, but when do we expect to put in that engineered stuff?
I was gonna do it after I didn't have time this week, but I did not have files.
Okay, I mean, you gotta do some grading work first before you even put it down, right? Okay.
What are engineered wood
Probably
chips?
already, which is-
Well, so you gotta get the topsoil and grass out of the area so you can put it down. You're just gonna put it right over the grass?
No.
Cover it with plastic first.
No, that's all they do. They just put fiber down and cover it. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Is there any-
Seems like it goes.
So are engineered wood chips wood? They're wood, so they will degrade over time. Yeah, okay. What's the difference between engineered wood chips and wood chips?
They tangle and mesh, so they create a floating mat more or less. It's not hard.
They're much softer. They
I see
fall.
that. Yeah.
And they are the product recommended for underneath
Yeah.
playground.
Well, from the picture I saw, I agree with Charlie, that it really should be graded and all the grass taken out. The grass will just come right through it, no?
Not with the fabric put down.
Not well, okay.
And with the fabric over it, the grass will ultimately die and it'll shrink, but it's still gonna have all those undulations I can see.
Yeah.
Maybe about
Either that or you're gonna have depth of stuff about this much at some places and this high at other places because of the undulating soil. Okay?
I would think a lot of kids would be packing that stuff.
I think it'll be well used.
All right, if you guys think you can engineer right, it's all right.
Sure will.
Just remember, we told you so.
You'll be.
Okay, anything else under Old Settlers?
No, just thank you for the installation. And boy, the way the summer's going, we would have never got a team of volunteers together to
No.
get that thing built. So I really appreciate that. It's done
Got it
and
done in one day.
it's fantastic.
That's pretty,
Who did the
That's-
installation? Was it the company?
The company,
Oh.
yeah.
And what were the fuel then? Mountain View and what?
I don't know.
Some of us telling me they were just ripping Mountain Views and.
Oh, geez. That's why they
Because
can,
we how much Mountain Dew they drank, they said.
that's how they did it in one day. Oh, my gosh.
That Dwayne took care of it for me.
oh, good. Oh, that's right, yeah. Good.
They kept delaying it. It's delayed for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what day it was that it was installed, the date of installation?
Mid-July. It was after the 7th, because that's when they were going.
Yeah, I don't know if I got it.
15.
Was it 15th or 17th, if I remember correctly? Okay, moving on to Veronica Valley.
Okay. First, holdover business from previous discussion and action. The signs, the wayfinding signs for Miles Kimberly and Veronica are in process. We'll have them end of next week or the week after. I know Scott mentioned he's thought of a way to attach the sign at an angle as opposed to vertical. Might make it easier, well, it would make it easier to read.
Sure.
But we'll be coordinating, and signs come in, we'll start figuring out how and when to get them up. Fish Day was, by all reports, very successful, huge crowd. I did not join them this year, but a huge day, and I've heard it only happiness all around. Relative to that, the walkway has shown 2 areas of potholing, to use that term. The top flat pack of hard pack of gravel, that real small chip stuff, has gone underneath the heavy timbered curbs that are along the edge. In one spot in particular where it's just filtered out, we think, we hope, John Pope was quite certain of this from his own investigation, whatever, 2 years ago when he put his scuba gear on or his snorkel and looked at the whole wall, the whole retaining wall. And he feels that retaining wall is not the issue. It's not going all the way down and through the retaining wall. It's going over the top of it, but underneath the curb. So we fill the pothole and take care of the problem. So John and Scott and I were there. The decision is crushed stone to form a much more fingered base underneath that hard pack. And the other area, we have heavy rain from just off the side of the approach to that walkway, comes down the slope and around the corner into one end of the walkway. We'll do some similar repair there. Final thing, weeds. They look good for this year. In our discussion, this was just John and Scott and I. John Walter was not, we did not have a quorum, illegally present. But really the weeds look good in that we've got a pretty good mix of a variety of weeds and a lot of open water. So it's a good mix. It was certainly cover for fish. Now, Brian Price and his techie from Leelanau Lake Association, the lake biologist, has reported to me that we have very little European milfoil. And we have some in one larger patch of curly leaf pondweed, which is also invasive. I haven't talked to John. Popa was going to be speaking with Brian the day after the 3 of us met to see if they have a recommendation about what do we do about these smaller amounts. I think if I understand which plant it is, we have several real small, either single stalk or just a little cluster of a couple of stalks. And what Brian explained to us with milfoil was that they found it real effective to be very aggressive at pulling out those just beginning spots. Get those things pulled out. John Walters says he's actually willing to dive down and pull out plants.
I can do it.
Really?
But
I can't do it.
I haven't heard back from John Pope on what recommendation, what can they do to help us? They got, from where the patch is, perhaps we can use some of their target. I don't know. I haven't gotten that back. But for this year, we don't need to consider any more action right now. You sent me the picture of the long pond. When I went back there, I couldn't find what took the picture of.
North side.
Yeah. I didn't see it. The other ponds didn't look too bad. I mean, the other pond surface didn't look too bad.
That was coming out of the water by a foot. You've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, that's what, I've got to find out what this new growth is that Scott took the picture of. But right now, I saw fish evident in both ponds. I still don't understand how there are bass in the upper pond, but I saw 3 nice ones up there the other day. And not even the big one that I've seen up there. So right now, everything seems to be doing well as far as that goes. We may, I'm sure with the curly leaf pondweed that we see, it means that a year from now, we need to be ready for some management because invasives are always constant management.
Right.
Last comment from the park. Beginning next week, there's going to be some beginnings of effort to countywide recognize, I'm not part of this, so I don't know yet, but recognize the automolic problem countywide. We don't want to turn, I know we don't want to turn into Mason County or Oceana County. And that's my old stomping grounds. I know what's happened down there when it's gotten loose. We certainly want to stay ahead of it with Veronica, and we're not behind. Work we had done last year that I know wasn't completely killing it, et cetera, but at least prevented us from losing control. And we have to watch that because, again, invasives are something you got to manage constantly. That's all I'm done. Except the question.
I just wanted to echo Kids Fish Day. I don't know if anybody else got there or not, but we did. It was a gorgeous day, and I don't think I've ever seen so many people there. It was fantastic. Everybody was excited. The hot dogs and chips were just flying out of there. Lots of great volunteers. A kid caught a water snake or caught a fish that was, a water snake was in the process of eating. There was a lot of excitement about that. And if ever anyone had a doubt about why we do Kids Fish Day, they should have spent 5 minutes at Kids Fish Day this year.
Glad you were there, thanks.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They had the tank that held the snapping turtle, so everybody could see the big snapping turtle, and then there was a kind of a pool the kids could play with the fish. And I just kind of went around and asked parents who had a fish if they wanted me to take their family picture. And I was surprised how many family pictures I took with kids holding a fish. And so it was a lot of fun.
Very good.
I would like to add one thing as far as the invasive species goes. Were you aware that the tribe did not agree to fund the?
Thank you. I just learned that this week. I forgot that we took that.
Disappointing.
I had a question, Dave, because I was out there last week and walked it, and the spotted knapweed is so, there's so much of it. Is that something we should look at, or?
Well, it used to be worse.
Pardon?
It used to be worse
Oh, it
because
did.
of where we planted the prairie. The prairie grass doesn't, you have to look hard to see how it's doing right now. It certainly doesn't seem as far along as it did last year. That prairie grass has turned out, and this is information I've learned from other prairie development pockets around. We also planted forbs in there 1 year after the grass, and the forbs just haven't come because the grass has been so successful. But at least over the last 3 summers, we've seen less and less and less knapweed in where the prairie is, because it
Oh.
can't compete even against that dense prairie
Okay.
grass. This year, the grass seems a little far behind, there's some other weedy growth in there, but I suspect the prairie grass, especially with the rain we've had,
Yeah.
will do well, and it just competes so well. Now, the other places, I haven't thought about, I haven't considered that as a huge problem compared to the
Oh, okay.
autumn.
Well, as a beekeeper, it's called Russian thistle, and they like it. And there's a guy that's got 30 hives right next to it.
Mhm. They love thistle honey.
You know, I love the thistle honey, and
think
it's
they
such
call
a
it
big
star
problem.
Tar thistle, that's right.
It's such a big problem it's not like the top one to attack, right? You know, autumn olive we've got to stay ahead of because it can overwhelm a piece of property. And
Yes.
become so dense that a human can't move through it. There are places in Oceana and Mason where you simply cannot penetrate these old fields.
Right.
It's not possible.
Can you say, is that Russian olive? Same thing?
That's
Same family.
Okay, moving on to the capital improvement project review.
I just left that on there in case you wanted to review it.
For
And the sheets begin on page
42?
14. But Parks and Rec really is more towards the back.
entry from, say, Veronica?
That's what's before the board next Tuesday.
Okay.
So if I may, I do see we've got, let's see, page 47 down towards the bottom, playground equipment, 2023-14. So Ted, I think that's completed now. Is that that's our piece, our big piece, right?
Well, it says Miles Kimmerly here, so it's not the Veronica, or the old settlers.
Oh, it does say Miles Kimberly, and I
Yeah.
apologize if it does. So we were looking at another piece of large playground equipment there?
Didn't you say that the one that's there is getting pretty beat up?
Is it? Okay. Okay. Well, then we'll leave it in there then.
I mean, one comment I was gonna make is there's really no line items that I see in here for old settlers. Miles Kimberly and Veronica Valley both have multiple line items, or at least one, but there's nothing in here that old settlers.
Yeah, we will.
Only mostly because we don't have any large projects to work on our
Right.
wish list there.
Well,
It's been, the grub shack was probably the biggest one and we were able to get that done.
the road and the parking was.
The
probably
parking is the next.
large one, which we might want to get.
I've been wanting to share the wealth. You know, we have spent some money there, but to be fair, we're spending it pretty evenly, I think, on all the parks, and we have spent. I appreciate what we've done over there. So we will have at some point maybe a facelift of that pavilion for sure.
The gazebo?
The gazebo.
That was actually something, we know that that's on
Yeah.
the to-do list, but
Yep.
Nancy's family asked me about that, and I'm like, yeah, it's on the to-do list. We got one guy that's the maintenance man,
Yep.
so.
But that's not an item that needs to be in the CIP, or should be.
No,
It
it's,
could be,
I mean, well,
depending on, don't you think, the depth of what we want to do to it? I mean, we
Right.
really wanted to rip off all the old,
deckboards.
yeah, on the bottom there and rebuild that into some new and maybe vinyl coated or something. That would take a chunk.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we probably should have some
We'll
kind of
look at
line
it.
item for the park and
Okay,
put some money in there.
wouldn't hurt. We'll work on that.
Any other questions about the CIP? Moving on to the budget review. Excuse me.
That should have been addressed in the executive committee minutes, starting on 15 and 16. Kind of gives you an overview of what was discussed and then recommended to go towards the board of commissioners.
And that's exactly what I turned into court, so. We'll see where it goes. Are there any questions by anybody by the budget that we put together? Moving on, any public comment? Somebody's here. Commissioner comments?
Just one thing, do you want me to reschedule that Miles Kimberly meeting to review those two options of
Sure.
firefights?
I mean,
Or just be
and
as a group?
I know that Randy's gonna be circling back about the baseball fields, wondering what's going on. And I'll call Greg today and see what, from Casson Township, and see what they're, so I haven't heard a peep from him. I mean, I think that he realizes that this board probably isn't interested, but I don't know if they found any other property or where they stand, so.
Maybe you could check with both those people before I set up the meeting, so it's substantial to talk about. I don't have a meeting, just have a meeting.
Right, understood.
Okay.
Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner comment.
Yeah.
And I didn't want us to get into a long discussion of this. Veronica needs a volunteer group. Now, I'm thinking that Miles Kimberly of our other two parks may be the other one. Just plug it into your brains. I don't know how to start gathering, and I don't know how to manage it because I don't want a lot of management put down on it. But when you have volunteers, you've got to have work for them to do. You want to use them and make them feel important. Otherwise, a volunteer group becomes a list and it dies. So we don't need many, but plug into your brains that really by next year we should have some organization of our volunteerism. We could use, like for summer, 3 extra set of hands doing some volunteer simple chores, putting up these signs that come, for example, if we had some extra hands helping them, taking care of the walkway under Scott's guidance, etc. But think about how we do it. Give me some help in the next meeting or so, think it through. That's all.
You knew that?
Any other commissioner comments? No comments from me, so motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you for coming.
We'd like to tell you guys to see the new guys, we played soccer tonight.
Oh, very nice. Oh, that's cool.
And then, University of Virginia will be here starting Saturday with the game. Wednesday afternoon, University of Illinois.
Oh,
Oh, did Scott, Casey, Sonny Wheelock, is he Sonny Wheelock? The